Okay, so in the last video we saw that we could put together the rechar reporter with the ASCII reporter and get the specific number that's attached to a particular arrow key. But we did, and I also mentioned that those numbers are different in on Macs and on PC, so we're going to have to keep that in mind as we go forward. But for now, what I'm going to do is, well, let's just say, well, let's think about this. So what we're going to need is, we're going to need a procedure. Let's imagine for a second that we already have the ASCII number that we need, because we kind of have an idea of how we're going to get it. We're going to use this ASCII rechar, right? So I'm going to write a little procedure that that uses the ASCII key to decide which direction to go, and then we'll figure out how to feed the actual key into that procedure. So I'm going to make a procedure to let's see, I'll say to turn I'm going to say to turn by, because or no, to turn, I'll say to turn using I'll say to turn using key, let's say. Okay, so this is kind of weird. You might not have seen this before. So we've seen like things like this, to go east, and you know from experience probably, if you did something like to go click on, that wouldn't work. It gives you, it acts in a weird way. Like if I said, if I tried to play that, it says go needs more inputs, so it does some weird stuff. So what's going on here? Why am I putting this colon and then the word key here? Well, you know how we write like we have some commands. Let me move this guy so we have some commands like home, right, that don't need any inputs, and then we have some like forward that needs inputs. It says forward needs more inputs. So if I say 10, then it's happy, right? Well, if you're going to write a procedure that needs inputs, and I want to have this procedure, I want to have like, if the down arrow is 40, I want my turn using procedure to take the 40 as input and do the right thing, make the turtle turn south. Okay, so by adding this thing here, colon and some name, and I could have named this anything, I could have named it N or spaghetti or whatever, but I'm naming it key because it represents a key from the keyboard. Okay, so I'm just picking a name that kind of makes sense, makes this easier to read for me and for other programmers. Okay, so to turn using key, I'm going to put in an if, and let me just refresh just to make sure everybody's clear on how if works. So if is another procedure, starts with an I, so I'm clicking on I here. If, and it has two inputs. The first input, it says here, is true or false, and the second input is list to run. Okay, so and then it gives examples here. What's the example? Oh, so if, so this bit right here, it's not very clear here, but this bit right here evaluates to either true or false. So this might be true. It might be true that the distance to T2 is greater than 30, or it might be false. Okay? But if it's true, then Logo is going to take this list and make it happen. So this towards T2 basically turns the turtle towards T2. And I recommend, you can always experiment with these. Like, you write these procedures and see what they do. You can write the procedure and then, type in go and maybe try animating some things. I don't know, see what happens. But so the important thing is that if takes two things here, true or false, and then list to run. So let's see how we can use that here. So I'm going to say if, and I'm going to compare key to the key I'm looking for. I'm looking for 40 to turn down, right? Wait, let's see. Oh, you know what though? Remember I said that it might also be, if you're on a Mac, it might be a 31. So I want to see if it's going to be either a 40 or a 31. So there's this other, there's this nice predicate that we can use actually to help us out with that. It's called member. And member takes two, either it could be a word or a list. It takes two inputs and checks to see if they're the same. It checks to see if the first word or list is inside the second word or list. So let me, there's some examples in here you can look at, but I'll show you another example right now. I could say, and member's a reporter. All the guys with question marks are a special kind of reporter called predicate. So if I say member 1 and 1, 2, 3, well, 1 is in that list, so member is going to report true. And if you have a reporter at the front of your instruction line, you're going to get an error message, right? Do you remember what that is? I don't know what to do with true. So one thing, I use show a lot just because show is a simple command that takes just about anything as well. It takes really any information as input and prints it out. So then I don't get the error message. So it says show. So that's true. What about is 0 in that list? No. So he's going to come up and say false. Okay. So what we could do is we could say if member key, if the key we got is a member of the list 4031, then that means either I pressed the down arrow key on a PC or I pressed the down arrow key on a Mac, right? If the key is one of those, then it's a down arrow key. And then I could say, then I could say, I want to go south, right? I could say go south. And so let's see if that one works. How would I, so let me just type it in. So I know that 40 is my down arrow key on the PC. So if I say turn, clear, this is getting kind of crowded here. If I say turn using 40, should make this font bigger too, shouldn't I? Text font. Let's say like, I don't know. Say 36. How about that? Oh, that's plenty big. If I say turn using, remember, if I because I have this key here, if I just say turn using by itself, I'm going to get turn using needs more inputs. But if I say turn using 40, 40 is my down arrow key, and that's the one I said here. If the key is either 40 or 31, you turn south. Okay, so that's good. So that's what we want, right? So now we're going to need to do this for the other arrow keys, but we're also going to need remember we talked about that ASCII rechar stuff. We're going to have to incorporate that too. Okay, but I think we got a good start. So in the next video, we'll see about what our next steps are.